Alright guys, so I wanted to make this video real quick, and I think it's important to keep this conversation going on these facts right here. And I think, our financial market is kind of hinging on that. And, again, this is just one entity, mind you, right? There's billions and billions, hundreds and hundreds, probably to the tune of trillion by now, that that this is happening to, right? Again, this is just one entity right here. And I think it's important to kind of draw kind of similarity to the collapse that happened to FTX. Okay, let me see right here. So I already pre-recorded this conversation. I'll show the clips later on as I try to explain what's going on here. But the FTX debacle that we experienced a couple months ago is kind of like what happens when you have this type of entity, take customer money and just store it there and then reroute it to buy some other security. Now, we don't know the security, right? Whether it's risky, whether it's anything that is nefarious, highly over leveraged bet. We don't know that, right? Because all we see on this balance sheet is that security owned at fair value. Here we go again with the fair value. And who determine what is fair, right? And so it's very important to try to understand why FTX collapsed and how this related to FTX.
The best I can deduce is that the whole thing was kind of a Ponzi scheme. What happened?
Yeah, let's start with the basics. So yeah, FTX was this massive exchange, fairly new on the scene, like it didn't even really exist 3 or 4 years ago. But suddenly it was the second largest exchange. It had its name on the Miami Heat Stadium. It was doing Super Bowl ads with Tom Brady and Giselle. And everyone thought it was like one of the most successful companies in the entire industry. It had a related company called Alameda, started by the same guy prior to FTX. Alameda was a prop trading firm. They would trade their own money, make speculative bets on various things within the crypto world and without. And FTX was a exchange for customers. So people that want to buy and sell cryptocurrencies would go to FTX to do that. What seems to have happened is that Alameda made a bunch of losing bets, very large losing bets, billions of dollars, perhaps earlier this year. And it borrowed the missing amount from FTX. FTX lent customer money over to Alameda. So FTX had billions of dollars of customer deposits who were trying to trade their own cryptocurrencies. It lent that money, unbeknownst to those customers, to this other company. And that seems to be what has happened generally. The details are still all coming out, but there's something around $10 billion missing.
Let me try to explain it right here. FTX is an exchange, just like Eric was saying. And an exchange is supposed to match buyer, okay, with seller, okay. Now, what does an exchange do? They find buyers. Buyers would go to them and say, hey, I want something, right? So in this case, they sell crypto. And of course, we know about the tokenized stocks, GME, AMC, and whatever. That is kind of like fraud in and of itself, but I'm not going to focus on that. Let's just focus on crypto. Let's just say you want to buy some Bitcoin. You have some money. Sit on the sideline and say, hey, I want some Bitcoin. So you go to FTX because you know that they have an ability to match you with the seller, or they could just go out and buy it themselves, or have Bitcoin on hand for you to to own. Jeez, I can't even. Anyway, so you go out and then you have to create an account with them so that you could buy Bitcoin, right? So what FTX supposed to do is take your money and exchange it for Bitcoin, right? Take your money and exchange it for Bitcoin. That's what's supposed to happen, because they're supposed to find seller out there who have Bitcoin on hand. Say you have Bitcoin right here, BTC, and then you're supposed to transfer that to the exchange and then exchange it back to the buyers, right? So it's to be like this, right? Now, what happened usually is that buyers are too lazy to transfer it to a separate wallet, so they don't own it in a separate wallet. They own it in the account of FTX, right? Now, while the seller, the same way for you to sell in FTX, instead of transfer that money for your Bitcoin out of FTX, you have an account with FTX, right? And so you have buyer, seller, the same way. They have crypto, they want to sell or trade or whatever. Of course, it is an exchange, so people want to do that transaction within this account, right? So now, in the meantime, though, FTX never actually, do that transaction. They just collect the money or Bitcoin or digital asset, right? So whoever deposit in there, they just transfer the fund, right, to their trading desk, right, which is Alamino Research Trading Firm. Now, the trading desk, because they are traders, what do? They trade in and out of Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is just one commodity or crypto or whatever. They just trade in and out. So in a sense, they have an ability to trade against you, right? That's one point. But what they also do too is take your money and buy other security. Okay? Buys other security or crypto. Sorry, crypto. So other crypto could be very volatile. Okay? So it could be SHIB when they first IPO'd or when they first launched. And then you have Sol, of course, right? Because it's moved quicker, they would put money there very quick and hopefully try to return it back to FTX, right? And then they have what other risky bet out there? All kinds of things that we don't know about, right? All in the name of trying to turn a quick buck, right? But then what happened was all of these collapsed underneath themselves, right? We know that they hold a whole bunch of FTT, that is their own token, right? A whole bunch of it, and this is where Binance steps in. Now, of course, Binance sees that, and then they're like, "Oh my goodness, this is a risk." That's why they dumped the whole token, to try to save themselves, right? Now, you could argue that this is intentional or not, but hey, if you find something that is not right, wouldn't you want the public to know, right? So that's my just my point there. So now all of this money that FTX sent to Alameda has become zero. So this is why FTX collapsed. Everything collapsed. So now everybody left with no money, zero money.